friendly neighborhood PhD, and you're listening to the Tye-Pod.
Well, hey everybody, it's another edition of the Tye-Pod, and I'm joined by Marissa today, who's going to talk a little bit about her diagnoses with, is it POTS and then HEDS as well.
Correct.
So we'll talk a little bit about that, like some shared disability stigmas and experiences, that we've shared kind of offline before. So I'm excited to get into that, but it's great to have you on.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's nice to finally meet you, not necessarily in person, but face to face.
Better than text for sure.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, nice. Well,
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you a little bit of a kind of an icebreaker, but I know like Halloween's kind of coming up and you're a big fan of it, which is pretty, yep, there you go. And in fact, your tag or your profile ID is disabled ghoul, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So how did you come up with that name, first of all?
Oh, well, I've been through like a handful of usernames over
Yeah.
the years trying to like find something that would stick. For a couple years, I was Halloween Cripple Queen. For a while,
Nice.
I started to feel like less connected to that after a while. I'm not really sure why. It just didn't seem. I think it felt like too long.
Yeah.
Like too much. And the word disabled, I feel really like fits me a lot better. And I was trying to figure out something like kind of spooky because I am like a Halloween 365 type of person.
Yep.
So I was like, well, ghoul, that could be cute. And then the username was available, so I just took it. And
It has a ring to it for sure.
thank you.
Yeah, I know what you mean though. Sometimes it's like, oh, is it too long? Is it going to take up space? And how easy is it to put out there? But yeah, that's very cool. So kind of Halloween related, like, is there a favorite costume or way, like anything you've ever worn or any events, that kind of stick out?
Yeah, I have three that like come to mind. In fifth grade, I dressed as a banana because I was in Girl Scouts and we would do like the local Halloween parade every year. And the one year we were a bunch of monkeys, and my dad had like a trailer that he built up like a cage, and we were a bunch of monkeys in there, and we had
Nice.
some banana, and it was just part of the whole thing. And we had the costume, so I was like, I want to be the banana. And I was honored because we had like a Halloween parade at school when we could like wear our costumes. And I was chosen as the line leader for my class to like hold the sign.
Sweet.
Banana. So I love the banana. I was a pirate in like the third grade, and I really liked that costume for some reason. I just felt cool in it. And I think last year was maybe one of my favorites with my husband and I. We were Annie Wilkes and Paul Sheldon from Misery. And we got so many compliments on the costume, and I had like a little sledgehammer that I was carrying around.
Yeah, that's
He
pretty
had his
good.
arm in a sling. Like, it was great. I love that one so much.
Oh man, that's really good. So are you like one of those people that like makes all the costumes yourself and do it that way, or do you try to kind of mix and match with stuff you find in a store? Or
Yeah, I do a bit of a mix.
Yeah.
I'll usually end up buying like accessories, but I tend to, if I'm going after like a character or something, I'll try to like find the clothing items like secondhand if I can, either at Goodwill or like online on Mercari or something. Or if I need to, I'll sew some stuff up by hand. But thankfully, the majority of it, I've been able to like source items to put it together. But yeah, have you ever had any favorite costumes?
I was trying to think. The only one that comes to mind is I did this random play on Breaking Bad, and also like an apple, like I did like a Breaking Bad apple type thing.
Yeah.
But then I somehow tied it into like the Riddler from Batman too. And honestly, I can't even tell you like how that came up or like what the exact thinking was. But yeah, I have like a green shirt with like question marks on it, and tried to find like the little, I forget the name of the exact hat the Riddler wears, but I was trying to do a play off of like Breaking Bad and Riddler was the main thing.
I love a bunny costume. To put together. I love that. Yeah,
actually with my I have a 4-year-old nephew, so now I'm exploring, maybe I'll do something else again. It'd be the first time in like probably 10 years that I dress up, so maybe something there.
Hopefully I'll keep my fingers crossed.
Yeah, I'll be on the lookout for some pictures of that, hopefully.
Absolutely.
But no, that's really cool. But I wanted to kind of transition into a little more like you in general, like some things that are important to you, or things that you want to share as far as your story kind of starting out.
Sure. I mean, do you want to start like disability wise or just like in general?
Yeah, we can just do in general maybe, and then go disability after.
Yeah. So as a person, I've been one of those people, I feel like I dabble in like so many different things, like kind of a jack of all trades. I feel like I'm not like spectacular at any one thing, but I'm like decently good at a bunch of other little things.
I feel that.
Yeah, I've always been like super artsy and crafty. Again, wouldn't say I'm like fantastic at any of it, but I feel like I'm good enough to get by, a lot of it. Currently I run my own little small business doing polymer clay earrings.
Nice. I love the polymer clay stuff.
Oh yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's a really nice medium to work with, especially for accessories, because it's really lightweight.
Is that the one that you like bake in the oven too, and it hardens?
Yeah,
And I used to use that all the time.
Yeah, it's like I can make like a super huge pair of earrings, but they don't hurt. Like they're not super heavy, so it's super cool.
Nice.
I've been dabbling in digital drawing, so I've been making some stickers and some little prints and stuff like that. I had gone to school for art. I originally gone for photography, switched my major to printmaking. Like literally just like so many different things. Like I'm doing polymer clay and sculpting stuff now, whereas I was doing that. I was doing other types of jewelry. I like getting like hands-on in on things like that.
Yeah.
I'm really into nature. I love camping, mini hikes, as I like to call them, because I'm not out there doing 4-mile hikes or anything, but
Yeah.
my hiking pools, do like some small hikes with my husband.
Yeah.
Just like spending time in nature. We have hammocks that we'll go like put out in a park.
Which state, like what area are you like in with?
Yeah. So I live in Western Pennsylvania right now.
Okay.
We were living in Southeastern Pennsylvania for a little bit. And we lived like 20 minutes from a state park. We were near Ridley Creek State Park, so we were always there at least like twice a week doing something.
Nice.
I grew up in the area that I'm in. So we would go up there and camp there pretty often. I've spent a lot of time in that area. I'm definitely more of like a woodsy person rather than the beach.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love music. I go to a lot of concerts, not as much as I used to as a teenager, but I love live music. I love listening to music.
Have your tastes, like, have they evolved a lot over the years? Like, or
kind of.
Yeah.
My parents were really into like rock music, so I like got into that just
like 70s, 80s rock, or like what kind of?
I'd say like more 80s,
Okay.
80s rock, maybe some 70s rock, like just like classic rock, you know? So I like got pushed into that, and eventually discovered more like, I would say more recent stuff from like the 2000s.
Yeah.
And in public school, everybody was listening to pop music, so I got into that. I was a huge One Direction fan.
Okay.
For years. I was wild with that.
Yeah.
But kind of came back to my roots as I got a little bit older, and I got involved with like the local pop punk scene. I was going to a bunch of like local shows. But I'd say I'm more of like an alternative rock, pop punk type of music enjoyer. Yeah, I'm definitely like a very audio stimulated person. Like I love podcasts, music. I always need to have like something going on.
I'm totally exact same. Yeah, I need some kind of noise going on in the background.
Absolutely.
Always. Yeah.
I'll go crazy. I'll go crazy.
Exactly. Yeah. But you said, like, what's the most recent concert you've been to? Have you been trying to go to a few here and there?
Yeah, I think the most recent one I went to, I want to say it was Movements. Earlier this year, it was Movements, and who opened? There were a few bands open. I know one of them was Citizen. That was a really good show.
And it was like one of those festivals, I guess. It had like a bunch of different artists.
Yeah, there were like, they had a couple more openers than usual. I want to say like 3 or 4 bands had played, maybe 5.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was pretty nice. I used to go to Warped Tour as a kid. Not kid, like teen.
I always thought I'd like to do that, but I never got the chance to do it. So yeah, that's pretty cool.
It was rough. It was rough on my body,
really?
for sure. Yeah, it was always hot, and you were there all day. The food options like weren't great. You're eating like fast food, you know, like fries and chicken
Not
tenders.
good for like hot weather either.
Yeah. Thankfully, they had like free water refills, so you could like bring your own bottle and stay hydrated. But yeah, I love that sort of scene. There's just something magical about a bunch of people getting together who love the same music, and you're all just dancing and having a good time. Like good energy, you know?
Yeah, live music has something that, you know, recorded definitely doesn't. So it's I try to do a little bit here and there for sure. Now that I'm in the Tennessee area, you know, there's like way more music events going on. So I'm like checking a few out. So yeah, it's just really good.
Yeah.
And like, so music, basically art, like those are kind of passion things that you have. Like your animals, I wanted to talk to. It looked like you had maybe adopted some as well, and like have kind of some efforts with advocating for, you know, pet rights and everything.
Yeah, absolutely. I grew up with cats. Like we always had animals. We'd have dogs too, but I was always very drawn to the cats. I was just born into a family that had cats, and the area where we lived, my parents had like quite a bit of land. So it wasn't out of the ordinary for a random cat to show up, either somebody dropping it or stray cat had kittens or something. So we were always like trying to find homes for animals or taking care of wounded animals. I just very much fell into that, like the sort of like nurturing role. My mom would always joke, because I never really played with like baby dolls as a kid, but I would treat my stuffed animals like baby dolls, you know?
Nice.
Much more drawn to animals and everything. And when I was in high school, kind of getting into college age, I had discovered the Kitten Lady on Instagram. She's a big voice for like cat advocacy and TNR efforts, and you know, keeping small abandoned kittens alive without their mother. And I was like super into that. I met her at a cat convention. Of course, I went to a cat convention.
Sweet. Yeah, I was gonna say that sounds fun.
But yeah, I've always had the cats. And when my husband and I had moved out near Philly a few years ago, we had just happened to move into an area that had a massive stray and feral cat population. There's another one popping up here. He was one that we got from that area.
Hey, what's that one's name?
Yes.
Oh, that's great.
We had 2 cats when we moved out there, and we ended up, when we left with 5.
Nice.
Yeah, it hurt my heart so much to see them just like outside. And,
Oh,
like,
I know.
I had cats inside that were living great lives, and I'm like, all of these cats have personalities, and it's just like I couldn't do nothing. And
Right.
there were like local rescues that I had gotten in with to do a lot of TNR efforts, which stands for trap, neuter, release, which is the idea of like just kind of managing the cat population more, getting them in there if they're not able to be socialized or not friendly. They either spay or neuter. They tip their
Yeah.
ear to show that they've been spay or neutered, like they clip the little point off the ear. This is the Polymer. So
Nice.
holding them here for a little bit. And then they release them back to wherever they were, because some
Yeah.
cats just aren't happy living inside or around people. But they still should be taken care of, because one female cat can turn into 6 very easily. So I was working with, I think, 2 or 3 local rescues out there for a few years, and I don't know how many cats we had like through our door, either fostered long term or for a weekend, or just in a trap in our basement while they recovered. Yeah, that's always been a place where my heart is just there. Like, I just
Yeah.
help the cats. So
That's
bad.
really cool to hear. Yeah. And like
Yeah.
growing up, did your family like take in like kind of any animals that were kind of coming through, like pets that were homeless and things? Was it kind of just a combination of different
Yeah,
things?
my parents weren't really involved in any like TNR efforts or anything,
Yeah.
but they had like a huge farmhouse. They had bought like a really old, like 200-year-old house. And for some reason, like, I guess they must have done it once and that was enough. But like anytime anybody was like, hey, my cat just had kittens, I can't find homes for them, my parents like, okay, we'll take them. We'll find them homes. And usually we would find most of them homes, but they'd end up staying with us for a
Yeah.
while, if not their entire lives.
Got too attached. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. We lived in woods, so they're with outdoor cats, because we were like in the woods. We would frequently have like them bringing us mice and birds that weren't dead but wounded, and we were like, okay, we're gonna take care of these little chipmunks or birds or whatever. And we were always doing stuff like that.
Yeah.
Thankfully, we also lived near a wildlife rescue.
That's
So
convenient. Yeah.
it was like a deer that got hit by a car that hadn't died, or if we found like a possum that had been stuck somewhere, we were able to like try to help. But it was definitely like a rotating door for animals at that place. Like we always had them. Always.
That had to be a really cool experience, though, I would think. Like getting and probably like learning just, caring for animals and everything. That's a really cool skill and like area to be, into. Like I more and more feel that way with, just wildlife or animals in general. Like, like there needs to be more done, I feel like, in a lot of places to help them. But yeah, that's really cool to hear that, you and your family have had like a long history of that.
Yeah. Our hearts have just always been there for the animals.
Right.
I don't know how, but
yeah, but it was there. Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's really cool. I kind of wanted to shift a little bit into the disability and chronic illness like space, and if you want to talk just a little bit about like your diagnoses and whatever detail you feel comfortable sharing on it.
Sure. Yeah, I have hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. That is, I like to call it the main disability within the group of conditions that I have, because it seems to be the one that is kind of set all of the other ones in motion. I was diagnosed, I want to say I had like just turned 20 when I was diagnosed, but I had been searching for answers since I was probably around like 10 years old. For me, it started with like just growing pains that seemed to be a little worse than normal. I would have a lot of sprains as a kid. Like it was either one of my wrists or one of my ankles. We had a stock of ace bandages at my parents' house because I was just always getting hurt. I would bruise really easily. I was really clumsy, but also very active. So it was just like I was getting hurt left and right. And I just had a lot of like, I would be sore a lot. And especially with like growth spurts, my legs were really hurting. My hips were really hurting. My back started to hurt, which isn't normal for like a 10-year-old,
Right.
Spine starts to hurt. And then I started having a lot of GI issues, which became like the main focus. We thought maybe it was acid reflux, but I wasn't getting like any burning or anything. It was mostly like a lot of nausea, some constipation issues, and I started on medications for like antacids and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And that kind of just progressed as I got older, and it seemed like as I hit puberty, everything just kind of started coming in. Like I was getting dizzy spells, I was nauseated a lot, my back was really hurting, I was really tired and like drowsy in school. So I was seeing all of these different doctors trying to like figure out what it was, but nobody could seem to like pinpoint anything. I can't even count the amount of times I would go and be like, I'm dizzy and I'm nauseated. And they're like, okay, you're a 13-year-old female, pregnancy test. And then that would be definitive.
Okay. Yeah.
And then nothing would happen from there. I don't know how many times that had happened. And
that has to be rough too, like at that age, like trying to find a doctor that actually can help.
Yeah, it was rough because it was mostly just like a pediatrician, and if I was lucky, like a GI specialist or like a sports medicine doctor. I think I was around 15 when we finally started getting like some hints of what was going on.
Uh-huh.
I was having a lot of pain in like my upper mid back, around like my shoulder blades and like my spine in between my shoulder blades. And I was having a lot of like grinding and popping in that area. And I was referred to like a sports medicine doctor, like an orthopedic, and he found that I had like a lot of inflamed tissue between my spine and my shoulder blades from excessive movement. And he's like, "Are you a gymnast?" Like, he knew I was in track because I did track and field in middle school. And he's like, "Are you a thrower? Like, are you using your arms too much?" I'm like, "No, like
Yeah.
I'm just a runner. Like I didn't really use my upper body for a lot." And he was really surprised because of like the excessive range of motion I had in my shoulders. And he kind of then went head to toe on me and was like, "Wait, can you put your arm out again?" And I was like, "Yeah." So I put my arm out, and
Yeah.
he's like, "Your elbows shouldn't bend like that." And he's like, "Your arm should be like this." when it-"
Yeah. And no other doctor had really like bothered to look at the whole
No,
like situation. Wow.
no, he was the first one, and he was like, "You are very hypermobile." And I was like, "What does that mean?"
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what that means, because I thought maybe I was just flexible. Like, I could put my feet behind my head as a kid, like bend over, put my hands on the ground.
Yeah.
We just thought I was just like,
Just really flexible. Yeah.
yeah. And funnily enough, like my parents thought that a lot of what I was going through was normal because they had gone through it as a child,
Okay.
and it is a hereditary condition.
Well, I was gonna say, like, have they been diagnosed since, like, with
Yes.
the same? Okay.
Yeah, they have since been diagnosed, but that made, seeing a doctor in general hard because they were like, "Well, I don't think you're really having any problems. Like, it happened to me as a kid." And it's like, yeah, that doesn't mean
That's
it's
not the
normal.
only. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, from there, I started seeing, I think I was around 17 or 18 when I was like, "All right, I'm gonna try to get in with like an adult doctor, not like a pediatrician, like somebody who could maybe look at this a little differently." And at that point, I was already seeing a GI. I started seeing a neurologist because I was having a lot of headaches and neck pain, which were later diagnosed as Chiari malformation and craniocervical instability, like the
Is
vertebra.
that connected to EDS as well? Okay.
Yes. Yeah. It's basically like the way I like to describe EDS is imagining like a bicycle, and it's put together with nuts and bolts and screws and like pieces of metal hardware to hold all of the pieces together. But my bicycle is put together instead of with nuts and bolts with like chewed up chewing gum. Like not really the right material to hold everything together.
Not supported enough either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
it's a connective tissue disorder, basically meaning that like the collagen, that's usually what is the most affected. Like the collagen production in my body is faulty. So everything's just kind of not really held together the way it should be. And it can affect it. It's a very complicated condition because it affects every person differently.
Yeah.
Like I know people with EDS who have very little use of their legs, like cannot put much weight on their legs at all without like serious injury. And then there are people who barely even show any symptoms.
That sounds a lot like, many other kind of progressive diseases. Like you could have the same exact diagnosis and completely, different symptoms sometimes.
Yeah.
Or more severe symptoms. Yeah, that's
Absolutely.
crazy.
Yeah, they've been able to put together like a diagnostic checklist, like things that seem to be present in like every person's case. They are reworking that criteria. I believe it's supposed to come out sometime next year to
I
make
was wondering, they kind of
accurate.
refined or, optimized that diagnosis procedure now, hopefully.
Yeah, and it's really unfortunate. There are a lot of medical professionals that see it as like a fad.
Even now.
And they'll think it's like a trend, and it is a very real condition. It affects people. It just affects people very differently, and that can make it really hard to diagnose.
Do you feel like, in your experience, like other factors like stress or things going on in your life, does it kind of push it, where it's more severe in those cases?
I would say so, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I feel like, stress can affect anybody
Yeah.
physically. It's definitely like it'll make things worse.
Yeah.
Especially with like the GI issues and stuff, like stress can really affect that. And
Right.
a lot of people with EDS also have GI issues. Because collagen is found everywhere in the body. It makes up your organ tissue and your nerves and everything.
So it's not just one place it targets either. I mean, you're managing, several different things that the stress thing, I feel like has to be behind like my own, I had a septic gallbladder surgery and all that stuff. And I really feel strongly that was a part of the reason. It was just getting, too much going on. And
Oh yeah.
yeah. So I think anytime you have a disability or chronic illness, it's just like sometimes everything else piles on and you still have that, in the background. So yeah, it's
Absolutely.
not easy.
Yeah, no, totally agree. Yeah, I've noticed like when I'm really stressed out or have a lot going on, my GI symptoms tend to be worse. My POTS symptoms tend to be worse. POTS is usually paired with EDS.
Yeah.
Because again, like the tiny little fibers of your nervous system are not really built correctly because
Yeah.
the collagen and the structure of everything.
There's something's missing. Yeah.
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 And that was something I had learned with EDS and POTS. A lot of people, their blood vessels tend to also be like stretchy because a lot of people with EDS have like stretchy skin.
Yeah.
And it can make it really hard to like get blood work done, like to stick. Your blood vessels don't constrict.
Oh, that's the worst.
Like, push the blood around the body. Yeah, it can affect a range of different things.
Yeah, like I mean that's like full-time management of everything going on. So like
Yeah.
now, do you feel like you have kind of, a set of things that really work to help minimize symptoms, or are you still kind of searching for things to help?
I'd say a little bit of both.
Yeah.
I've definitely learned, I think one of the big things that has helped, and I think can help with like really any type of chronic illness or disability,
Yeah.
is pacing, like understanding your physical triggers to things and things that make you feel worse, things that make you feel better, and kind of coming to terms with the idea that your body just might not work as well as a normal person's body does. And
Kind of a self-acceptance kind of thing too, I guess. Yeah.
like accepting that your life is going to be a little different.
Right.
And that can be really hard, mentally, really. There's a level of grieving there, and it can be really complicated. But definitely kind of coming to terms with that and realizing, okay, I don't need to do as much in a day as I used to. Like I have a problem. I need to focus on that more and less on my productivity and being a normal person in
all
society.
the things that like Western culture pushes is like the normal life, right? Like
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Definitely like pacing and learning to accommodate myself a lot better, doing more things seated, adjusting things in my home to make it easier to reach things or to access things. Yeah, a lot of like little lifestyle changes like that.
Right.
I feel like those little things definitely add up.
All the little things have to help some, right?
Yeah. It really helps make the quality of life.
Yeah. And how progressive is it? Like, do you notice big changes every few years, or is it just kind of stable now? What's that been like?
Yeah, I think that's another thing where it really depends on the person. For me, I've noticed it's gotten worse as I've gotten older.
Yeah.
Because your body does stop producing collagen at the rate that it did when you were a kid. It's kind of like how a child can like run into a wall and be completely fine, but like if I ran into a wall now,
that would not be so good.
No. Yeah, it's not, I wouldn't call it like a progressive disease because I don't think it's necessarily something that just gets worse over time. Regardless, I think it's just something that, as your body ages, you already have this issue structurally. It's also going to get more complicated.
So like just aging in general is going to complicate that process. Yeah. That makes sense.
Again, it does really depend because I have talked to some people who are older with EDS and they're like, I feel like my symptoms have gotten better as I've gotten older. Specifically, I've talked to some women who have said once they've gone through menopause that their symptoms have gotten better.
Okay.
I don't know if there's much research around it, but there does seem to be some sort of link between like going through puberty and these things getting worse. Like that sort of trauma per se on a body, like POTS, for example, is categorized as a post-viral illness. And it's something that, if you have a really bad virus, it can get triggered. If you're in a car accident, have like some sort of major life event or something, like it can trigger this change in your nervous system.
So I got to ask then, like, how did COVID impact yours? Like, what was that like going through?
Yeah. It, in general, like it was a blessing and a curse at the same time for me. I was in college when like the lockdown happened and I was really struggling at that point with my health. I had just gotten the EDS diagnosis.
That was right before COVID actually started.
Yeah. It was like 2 months before.
Oof.
Yeah.
Wow.
I had just gotten the diagnosis. I had been at college for like a year and a half, maybe. I was having a lot of trouble with like walking around campus and seeing other people like being totally fine with like carrying their stuff and doing everything. And I'm like,
you're like shit, I wish I could still do these things.
Yeah. I'm like, I'm walking around and like in high school and college, like I had nearly fully convinced myself that everybody else was dealing with this too, but just not talking about it because I hadn't gotten answers. And I was
interesting. Yeah.
I must be dramatic. Like everybody else has back pain and leg pain and they're just,
and yours are just more noticeable that you have to mention it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's rough. Probably growing up at that age too. Ooh. Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely like a lot mentally to try to figure out.
But it almost seems like there's like time milestones where you kind of know like, okay, if I get past this, maybe it'll get better.
Yeah. Absolutely. Like my GI issues were getting worse around that time. Partially due to the fact that I was taking a lot of ibuprofen and Tylenol.
Ooh, yeah, that's rough. Yep.
because that's what doctors were telling me to do. They're like, oh, if you're in pain, just take this.
Just throw some pills at it. And
Yeah. And I was like just trying to get to class and get back to my dorm. And I was taking a lot of that. Basically ended up like frying my stomach.
oof,
Yeah. And
that's not good.
the lockdown came at like a perfect time for me. Like I hate to say that, but it forced me to just rest.
Yep. And
And
it slowed everything else enough to the point where you like that's almost all you had to do there for a little while, it seems like.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it gave me the time to like actually go to doctor's appointments and schedule these things in where before like I didn't want to miss class for these
Right.
things. And it gave me time to like get a lot of testing done. At that point, I had gotten my gastroparesis diagnosis. My GI tract is just very slow. My heartburn was like way worse. I did have a surgical feeding tube for about a year.
Okay. Wow. I had one for a couple of months and well, honestly, I still have it attached, but I really don't use
Yeah.
it. But yeah, like that's brutal when you have to
Yeah.
use that.
Yeah, it was really eye-opening when one of my doctors had written in my chart, like I saw the cursed words of failure to thrive. And I was
Nice.
like 20 years old and I'm like, oh gosh, like what is going on? Yeah, with like my GI issues in general, and then all of the ibuprofen and the Tylenol. I was having a lot of like extra acid production in my stomach,
Yeah.
which was then like eroding the lining of my stomach. And the tube really helped for the year of just like not really orally eating very
You
much.
could like very, very controlled like system probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I called it my year of gut rest.
Yeah, that's a good
Yeah.
term for it. Yeah.
And thankfully I'm doing like pretty okay with that stuff now. It's still like
Yeah.
a part of my daily life, but
Do you have like strategic foods or like treatments, anything you do to kind of help, like minimize that? Yeah.
yeah, I take a certain antacid in the morning that helps to like prepare my stomach
Mhm.
to eat throughout the day, and then I take one at night because we apparently produce the majority of our stomach acid while we sleep. And I make too much. So I have a pill that helps me not make as much while I sleep.
Yeah.
But yeah, COVID just forced me to slow down.
Focus everything on that
Yeah,
kind of. Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And I did unfortunately catch it. I think I want to say it was summer of 22, I
Uh-huh.
think is when I got it. And my pot symptoms were a lot worse while I had it, like during the infection. I was very lucky to be able to access the monoclonal infusion, like the monoclonal antibodies. I think that really helped me a lot to get through it because I was like out for the count. Like
Yeah.
I was down for about a week or two. And my symptoms, most of my symptoms, like neurologically, I was getting like the brain zaps and the headaches and all of
Yeah.
that. A
Oh,
lot of
man.
that went back to normal after the infection, but my pot symptoms, like if this was my baseline on like with a COVID infection, my symptoms were up here.
Yeah.
My symptoms maybe came back to like here. They never went back to
So
my
still worse. And that still now is that persisting? Yeah.
yeah, they're definitely worse. But I was able to get on a different type of medication that I was on. I was put on like a stronger beta blocker to help it. I'm also on a blood pressure medication now. It heightens my blood pressure because it tends to be pretty low. But I'm at like a stable blood pressure for that medication. But yeah, COVID, like the whole pandemic and like the virus itself was I feel like it was a big adjustment period for everybody,
I do too. And I'm not sure that when we will know like the full extent of how is it going to impact all of these, I mean,
Yeah.
just people in general, but also like, people with more severe like diagnoses, like how many years are we going to see after effects, of that? Yeah.
Especially like seeing all of the people who have developed long COVID.
And like, it seems like many other undiagnosed things going on, and maybe I just didn't pay attention as much before, but it feels like it's just exploded, on the number of things that are going on with people. So,
oh yeah.
Yeah.
I would not be surprised if it, because it attacks like your brain and your nervous system. Like I would not be surprised if like in a few years there's research that comes out like with it affecting different conditions, not just things like POTS or EDS or whatnot. Like if you already had some health condition, getting your nervous system messed with, I don't think that's going to make anything better.
No, I don't see any benefit of that at all.
Yeah.
It's a weird situation with all that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, that's probably a good time to kind of switch into the ableism stigma stuff. I know that we had kind of talked about. So like, is there any topic you want to start with? I know we talked a little bit about the hygiene thing, but is there like in general stigma stuff that you experienced, or like wherever you want to go with that?
Yeah, sure. I think like in general, there's definitely there's a stigma with any sort of disability. Like people who have no exposure to it, like they don't know anybody, if you never see somebody in a wheelchair as a child and then suddenly you're 15 years old and you see somebody in a wheelchair for the first time, like you're going to be confused, I think you know, ableism is alive and well in society.
Mhm.
Even with the push of, you know, awareness, a lot of people talking about it more. I think we're getting somewhere, you know, with
It's just so slow.
yeah, right. I feel like with me, a lot of what I have experienced regarding ableism is the idea of like invisible illnesses or
Mhm.
invisible disabilities. Like I'm in a position where if I'm not using a mobility aid, or, you know, I don't want to say my condition is like fully invisible, because with a trained eye, I can like see
There
hypermobility
are some
in other
things, yeah.
people, you know?
Yeah.
But being like rather ignorant of it, I look completely healthy. Like I look normal. I look just like a young woman living her life, but everything's falling apart at the same time, you know? And I feel like a lot of conditions are like that. Like I use the comparison of like diabetes. Like it can really affect somebody's life, but if you just look at somebody, like you can't tell, you know? And I feel like there's always been a stigma if, for example, like when I was moving in and out of my college dorms, my parents were doing a lot of the carrying
Mhm.
and doing a lot of that, and people would look at me like I wasn't being helpful or
Like, why are
anything.
you making your parents carry that stuff? And you're,
Yeah,
yeah,
and like I felt awful because I was like, well, they're older, like I don't want to be doing this, but it's also
right.
really painful for me at the time to like try to do a lot of this. And sometimes I wish I just had it like tattooed on my forehead, or like a t-shirt that was like, I swear I'm not lazy, like I'm in a lot of pain and I can't do the things that normal people could do.
Right.
And I get a lot of looks when I use a cane or use my rollator, because people, they believe like if you're in a wheelchair or using some mobility aid, you need to be
Mhm.
like visibly disabled.
And like fairly severely disabled
Yeah,
to need that.
yeah,
Yeah.
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 Thankfully, I haven't gotten like too many comments from people in person. It's mostly a lot of stares.
I was gonna say the looks and the stares are probably not that that's, I mean, that's more than enough to deal
Sure,
with, but yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like that's a big part of it, and then
Yeah.
also understanding that disability doesn't have a look, you know, and
Good point.
it can be a lot more than just not being able to walk or not being able to see or
Mhm.
hear. Like there's a lot of things with that. And I think like the hygiene portion is like we've talked about like
Yeah.
messages before, like people don't understand that. Like they don't immediately think that a disability can hinder your day-to-day life in your house.
Like you should still be able to do like the bare minimum things that people
Mhm.
assume. Yeah.
Absolutely. Like you don't understand how much work it is to clean the dishes until it's really fucking hard to clean the dishes. You know what I
Exactly.
mean?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's almost like, well, if you just had a day in the life of, even some of the symptoms, people would be like, oh, I get it now. Like
Yeah.
that's like I was being so shitty for no reason because there's clearly something going on. So
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. And like the hygiene thing, like how did that were you like sharing some stories on social media and people just like launched into assumptions, or like what was that like?
I think the first time I realized people were like had a problem, you know,
Yeah.
people had a problem with that. It was some stupid like meme reel that somebody had made. I don't know if you've seen those. There are a lot of like meme reels that people will make where they'll use like they're like gifs of cats and dogs.
Yeah.
But like the very popular, like there's like the Siamese cat that's screaming, and like
Mm,
they'll put like me and my boyfriend or something, and they use like the different little animal gifs to like
yeah.
describe. And it was one like that where it was like me and my boyfriend in the shower when I haven't showered for 3 days or something. And
Yeah.
they were like, it was jokes about like the water being too hot or like trying to take a shower together and not enough space or
Mm,
whatnot. And people were like going off in the comments about like, how can you not shower for 3 days? And I go in there with the goodness in my heart of like wanting to be nice to people and advocate for people. And I'm like, you know, it's rather normal for a lot of people to not take a full shower for 3 days.
mhm.
And people started fighting,
Losing it. Yeah.
literally losing it, like not realizing that you don't have to take a shower every day to still be clean
Right.
or to still take care of yourself,
Right. Right.
or even going as far as saying like your disability shouldn't be an excuse to not shower every day. And I'm like, oh my
They
god,
just run crazy with these ideas. I
yeah,
just can't, and it's like, well, like a 10-minute shower to somebody's like, well, I could even take 2 a day for that. And it's like nothing. And
right,
you're like, well, first of all, it takes me like an hour or more back when I was actually getting in and out of like the shower bench that I had, and it was just
yeah,
like, if you want to do anything else, if you want to avoid injury, sometimes you got to like pick and choose where you can clean and how often. And I
yeah,
mean, it's not something that we necessarily want. I mean, like,
sure,
sure, I'd be jumping in, twice a day if I could, but
yeah,
yeah, yeah, it's just outrageous to me how people just run with this stuff and just
yeah,
it's so easy to just drop comments, you know, that I mean, they hurt as much as you try to ignore them too. So
Absolutely.
it's rough. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Like I was able to take a shower today, you know, which
Yeah.
was good. I think my last full shower was like Thursday of last week. You know, between that time, sometimes I'll like just put my head in the shower, rinse that off. I have like water wipes and baby wipes, and deodorant can go a long way. I guess people don't really understand.
Fair. That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, or like using just like a wash rag with some soap on it and, you know, drying off. Like
Right.
people don't understand that you don't need to fully hop in the shower and do like a full clean. And I miss the days where I could do that, you know?
Yeah.
Thankfully I beat the sort of internalized ableism that I had myself for a long time and like bought myself a shower chair, which that changed my life. I didn't think a piece of plastic and metal could make such an
It
improvement.
makes a big deal. Yeah, it's huge.
Yeah, especially for me with like the pots. Hot showers make your blood vessels dilate anyways, so I get like really dizzy in the shower.
Which is very dangerous. Yeah,
that's like the worst place to fall. Like there's
no doubt
to hit your head on.
Yeah.
But that's helped me a lot, like just sitting and taking my time. I don't know how to get people to like be more empathetic, you know?
Yeah, that's a hard battle. Like I wish there was some, you know, foolproof thing you could use, but it's just like, it's just not.
Yeah, especially like I know in your case, like you use a wheelchair and you know, the prep work for getting in a shower then is
it's a lot
difficult, especially like there are cases where people can't take a shower by themselves. Like they can't physically move themselves in and out of the shower, and it's taking your time, it's taking somebody else's time. And
exactly,
not
you
that
know,
that's
and
a bad thing.
just the injury risk and worry too, you know, like I went from, you know, being able to like sort of inch my way along from my chair to the shower chair, and that worked for a long time, but then, you know, progression and everything just really made it unsafe, and it was taking, you know, like an hour and a half probably to do it, and that was with like the handheld shower hose and all that stuff too, you know, so it was just like I can't physically do that at this point, you know, and even like say my wheelchair, like over time it broke down with the seat where it was like maybe an inch shorter, like that like changed everything. And so you're right, it's just you're forced to kind of adapt and use the tools that you can, and then once that's gone, it's like you have to figure out something else to do, you know, and like things like shower caps with like, you know, non-washable cleaning, you know, it just dries, like that's been a lifesaver for me, you know, those kind of things. And it's you pick and choose the days where you have, you know, I know we were going to get into spoon theory, but like where you have more spoons, you try to take advantage and do more to account for, you know, the next day. So it's a lot, you know, and people definitely don't realize it unless they sort of see it.
I think that's a big part of it too, is like depending on the condition that somebody has, like the amount of energy it can take. Like if you're able-bodied and you're able to take off your clothes and get in the shower, fully wash yourself by yourself, then cool. That might take you 10 minutes and you can go grocery shopping afterward and just go on with your day. Like that's not the case for everybody.
No,
there are people who don't have the energy to use their legs, or in my case, I can't keep my arms like above my head for a long period of time. Like washing my hair is really difficult. Like even the length it's at now is getting too long for me to like
manage.
keep up with it, you know? Dry shampoo goes a long way. I've learned that. I think if people could be, I don't know, more open-minded to just like understanding that their situation's not like their own. It can change things, and that doesn't make somebody else less clean. It doesn't make them less of a person because they can't shower every day. I mean, I have never had a doctor tell me that I should shower every day. They're always saying like you shouldn't wash your hair more than once or twice a week. And like using soap on your skin every day like messes up your natural biome and everything.
And that's the thing too, you know, like you can go overboard with all the products and antiperspirants, you know, and all those kinds of things too. So
absolutely.
It's rough, you know, and I think that it's like, you know, every single step that's involved with hygiene is just amplified, you know, when you have, you know, some kind of disability or something. So it's a problem, and it's like, you know, dealing with that on top of the comments and the assumptions too. It's a lot of weight, I think.
That's like a different part of the conversation too, like the mental like load of all of that, like
and not just the hygiene, it's just it's the whole experience, right? Like you just stack all those little things on top, and it's overwhelming.
Overwhelming is like an understatement.
Has there been anyone that's kind of changed up their thinking after you explain more, or have you seen cases where they do kind of learn to appreciate it, or is it all like black and white, like no? Or
I think there's been a bit of both. Like there are some people who will just dig their heels in and believe what they want to believe because they haven't been forced to believe otherwise.
Right.
Um,
And automatically they're correct.
yes. Oh yeah, absolutely. You'll find a lot of that on the internet for sure. But then there are some people who will start off really hot and heavy and will eventually be like, you know what? I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
I never considered that. And thank you for making me
Those
aware of that.
exactly. Like there are people, and that's what makes me feel like it's still worth the effort to try to spread awareness, because even when I was in grad school, it was like people had no idea that a problem was a problem until they saw it, and then they're like, oh, I see. And then after that, it's like they see it everywhere. So there are some victories, I think, through sharing the stories.
Absolutely. Yeah, I feel like that's one of the things. It's like, I'm not going to stop advocating for any cause,
Right.
because I see it work. I see people understand and see people like change their minds to be like, you know what, I was never exposed to this before. And now that I've heard about it, like that makes sense. I'll try to be nicer to people in general. Cause like
just in general, yeah. And I mean, that doesn't
with.
mean you have to agree with everything they're about or that you have to do what they're doing, but it's just like having that empathy factor, like you do you kind of.
Yeah. Like you do you. It's not affecting me at all. Like if it
And
works.
and we're also humans too at the same time. It's
Yes.
Yeah. But it's
Absolutely.
I know that like we'll keep up the fight for sure. Try to keep pushing. But yeah, it's yeah. And as far as the spoon theory thing, did you want to get into that like a little bit about just how that applies to your day to day, and does it help kind of for you to evaluate even your own planning, ahead for the week?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So the spoon theory at a very basic level is it's a sort of theory of thought developed for people who don't have disabilities or chronic conditions to have a little bit more understanding about what day-to-day life is like for somebody with a disability or chronic illness or something that limits their amount of energy for the day, or limits what they're able to do within a day. And the idea of it is basically like you wake up in the morning and everybody is given an amount of spoons, and every task you need to do throughout the day is quantified by an amount of spoons. So saying like brushing your teeth might be 1 spoon, taking a shower might be 3 spoons, going to the grocery store or a doctor's appointment might be 4 spoons. And the idea comes down to, what if you woke up and you were only given 12 spoons? What would you do with your day? Like you have to map out like, okay, brushing my teeth takes this many, walking the dog takes this many, making myself 3 meals takes this many. And it really, I think that it's a very visual way of helping people understand like the quantity of energy that you might have and how somebody with a disability or chronic illness has less.
Yeah.
Kind of like, I hate the phrase that is always in like entrepreneurial spaces of everyone has the same 24 hours.
Oh, that is not true. That is not true.
I remember I nearly got in like a fight in class with somebody in college because I went for printmaking. I got a minor in art history and a certificate in creative entrepreneurship. So I was in a lot of like business classes, and there were people really preaching that sort of like, we have the same 24 hours, like you have an excuse. And I'm like, all right, let's talk. Like,
yeah,
because it's just not the case. Like for me, I usually look like today's Tuesday. I almost said Monday.
Yes, it's Tuesday.
Like looking at my week, being like, okay, are there any big things coming up for me? And how can I space this out? Like me, I do a lot of like markets on the weekend. I go and like sell my art and stuff on weekends. So I'll look and be like, okay, the day before that, I cannot overwork myself because I'm going to be putting a lot of physical energy into that Saturday, into like setting that up, being there, doing all of that, tearing down. And then I have to account for the next day. Because like one idea with the spoon theory is that you can take spoons from the next day's amount of spoons, but then when you come to that next day,
then it's going to be
starting. You're starting with less. And if I do a market on a Saturday, my Sunday is going to be nearly solely reserved for resting and not doing very much. Like if I realize, okay, my carpets need vacuumed, I can't do that Friday and I can't do that Sunday. That needs to be at some other point. And it can be as simple as like, I can't shower the same day I need to go grocery shopping. Like that's going to take a chunk of energy that I'm not going to have for later. Or it can really hinder what I eat that day. Like, ooh, I'm not going to be able to make like a full nutritious dinner. I might be having cereal for dinner. You know,
you might just have to like, just grab what's there.
Yeah. I think it's definitely, it's just an easier way to visualize what
right
if you don't deal with it yourself.
The thing I always am like curious about is like how how many, like what number of spoons are you going to use that is the right comparison or whatever. It's like is there a standard amount of spoons that
I'm
start
like,
from? I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
I mean, it's just more and less, but I'm like, how do I give an exact number there?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think from what I've seen, it's like the sort of question posed is like, what would you do if you only had 12? And
Mhm.
I'm like, what does a normal person have? Like, what's the normal
That's
amount?
hey, maybe they have 24. Like if we're gonna do the 24-hour thing.
Yeah, maybe
Yeah.
honestly, that would make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and like some days I've seen people use like it's a low spoon day. Like sometimes
Mhm.
you wake up and you just don't have as much energy, whether you did something the day before or your
Or you're
mom.
planning something coming up and yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, you're
yeah,
right. You're right.
you just have to really change your schedule around and change
Yeah.
what you do in a day. And I think that's a big piece of like managing a disability or a chronic illness
Mhm.
that other normal, people might
Yeah.
not understand. Like how, like I always hear people say, like, you don't have to make it your whole personality. And it's
Or
like,
like don't let your disability define you. That's
yeah,
something that
it's
another
like,
friend and I talk about. It's like, well, I mean, in some ways it does. Like, how could
yeah,
it not? You know?
yeah, it impacts your life
Yeah.
and
And I
it
mean, like,
impacts
for
a lot of your
example,
life.
like on my hygiene days when I'm gonna, the next day, like go to a concert or go do something with like socializing, it's like, well,
Yeah,
it's gonna be a full day of, cleaning maintenance, making sure that I'm rested, and ready. And it's like, you gotta have that extra time to do those kind of things. And so yeah, it does define you in some sense.
absolutely. Yeah, I always say I'm like it is my personality. Like it affects enough of my life that
Yeah.
like I have to change a lot of things. I have to work around a lot of things and it's it's a lot physically, it's a lot mentally. It can be hard.
Yeah.
It can be
Yeah.
very overwhelming and confusing. Um, but yeah.
It's yeah, day to day like process for sure. What about like, and I know we're kind of going up on the end of the time, but
All good.
like your like the days where you're resting or where you're not doing as much, like do you find your mind is still as active or more active? And like do you have to kind of accommodate that side too? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think definitely like personally, I have ADHD. Relaxing is very hard for me. Like just being still,
Yeah.
is very hard. So even when like I'm having a really high pain day or low energy day and like I have to like stop myself and like let myself lay down, I'm like, oh my God, I'm bored. Like I need to do something.
Yeah.
Um, I've always been a fan of Animal Crossing. I like to find things that I can do to occupy myself that
Yep.
aren't physically taxing. Like playing a game like that, or I've recently gotten into Sudoku.
Oh, okay.
I never thought I'd be
Nice.
a person who would enjoy those, but
Yeah.
I've recently gotten into that. Like things I could do maybe on my computer, like if it's a day where, I can rest by sitting up, like
Yeah.
something like that. I definitely just end up having to change things around and figuring out what I can do. I don't want to say that feels productive, but something that
Yeah.
feels like I'm spending my time being occupied doing something.
Yeah.
Uh,
Like some kind of level of distraction, was like, I
yeah,
think it's kind of necessary.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like just having a condition that limits your physical ability you can feel a level of like disappointment
Yeah.
in yourself. And having something that you can still do to sort of avoid being sad about
Yeah.
it,
Yeah.
can really help lift your spirits. Um,
Right. And that's something I think that people don't really recognize enough, is on
yeah,
top of whatever physically we're dealing with. There's like the emotional mental component that's,
absolutely.
it's a battle too. Like it's absolutely impacted by everything else going on with the
Yeah,
physical side. Yeah. And it's all of it together is a bit much for sure.
oh, for sure. For
Yeah.
sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm a big advocate for therapy, and finding somebody to talk to, whether it's a professional or a friend.
You
It's
feel like
gonna
you've
it's
kind
gonna
of
be
found
valid.
that or did it take you a while to find those resources or
Um, I feel like I was definitely somebody who was like trying to put it off for as long as possible,
yeah.
Um, and when it came to the point that like just talking to my husband or talking to my friends still felt like, they can understand to an extent. Um, I feel like after a while I was like, okay, I think I can talk to a therapist or somebody
Yeah.
about this. And then also finding like the disabled chronic illness community online was super helpful because
Mhm.
there are other people in the same situation that are like, my friends don't really understand. Like they can empathize to an extent
Yeah.
because they're not going through the same thing.
Right.
And finding other people that have the same struggles, like it can almost just make it easier. Like it doesn't change the struggle itself, but it makes you feel a
But to
lot
know
less
that you're not
isolated.
alone. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly, exactly.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's the whole reason why I've started using my Instagram account. Um, the way I use it, when I was in college and really struggling and not having answers, I had come across, it was literally on my For You page. Somebody had posted, I think it was like one of their first posts about like, hey, I have this condition.
Uh-huh.
This is how it has affected me. And a lot of like light bulbs started going off in my brain. And I'm like, oh my God, I think I might have this. Like, this sounds really familiar.
Mhm.
And had I not seen that, I don't know if I would have gotten the diagnosis that I got. And it fundamentally changed my life. And I'm like, maybe I should share things too if it means somebody else might see it and have the
Mm.
same sort of like awakening. And I think like a big part of my personality is just like talking about things that people don't want to talk about
Yeah.
because it's okay. It happens to
Well, I
people.
mean, they're human things that need to be talked about. Like
Yeah,
yeah, and it's not to say everyone has to be that comfortable, but at the same time, it's
sure.
like don't be judging if we're comfortable sharing,
Absolutely.
details. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
it-
I'm always here to share the nitty-gritty,
yeah,
the
yeah,
gross, the awful, like, because it's real and sometimes people just need a reminder, like, hey, it's okay.
yeah,
You
and
know?
yeah, and I mean, at the end of the day, like human life, there's parts that are gross or unappealing, or
Yeah.
like we could probably go a full another episode just on like niche topics of
Oh yeah.
the things people don't want to talk
Oh yeah.
about. But yeah,
Um,
yeah, but I feel the same way with Instagram and social media. Like once I couldn't work anymore, it was like that changed everything. Being able to vent or see other stories and realize, oh wow, this is not so isolating.
yeah.
And even long distance. It's crazy to me. Like I've talked to people in like Holland or UK or Hawaii. Like it's just really cool to be
Yeah.
able to get all those perspectives. And I'm sitting here resting on a rest day. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah,
That's a huge thing. Like when I was planning my wedding, there were so many people like, oh my God, I would advise these people, but I've never met them. Like they live in a different state.
yeah, yeah.
There's people that have been a part of my life for years because
Isn't that interesting? Yeah. Have
it's
you gotten to
great.
meet anybody that you've kind of known for a while on social media in person, or?
I feel like there's been a couple people, probably
Yeah.
one or two, maybe three people that I've been able to meet, and there have been some people. Um, I sound like a weirdo saying this. Like there are some people who have come up to me at an event, like, "Oh my God, I've been following you for years." I'm like,
You're
I'm
just like
not a celebrity.
stalker.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's really cool to like make these friendships,
Yeah.
and some, being like, "Oh my gosh, we're gonna be in the same area for like this person's layover or something."
Yeah. And those are every bit as strong, or if not more strong, as friendships than some in-person ones, honestly.
Absolutely. No, I'm a big advocate for like online, friendships and everything.
Yeah,
Always be safe. Make sure you're
exactly.
talking to real people and whatnot. But
Yeah, that's another side. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. But there are those people that are be like, well, you can't, like it's a waste of time. Those aren't real interactions or whatever. And you're like, if it's two people like live on camera talking, that feels pretty real
yeah,
to me.
pretty
So
real. Yeah, or like
yeah.
phone calls and whatnot. Like
Yeah.
you can be friends with people without hanging out in person. Like
Right.
even my normal friendships of like people that I would see in person, like during the lockdown and everything was like you can't see these people.
Right.
A phone call with somebody or a FaceTime with somebody is just as valid.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. And yeah, like some of us, the circumstances we can't control the distance or whatever issues that are keeping us from,
yeah,
engaging in person. But it's like, at least we have this to fall back on as an option that's not bad, really.
absolutely. I
Yeah.
totally agree.
Yeah. That's really good.
Yeah.
But no, Marissa, as far as like people connecting and working or looking for your content, or they want to even check out, I guess you still have your like online shops where you're selling some crafts. Like, where do you like point people to go to follow you and things?
Sure, sure. So my main Instagram is at disabled ghoul. My TikTok username is the same, but there's an underscore at the
Of
end because
course.
for some reason it will not, the username's not taken, but it won't let me use it.
Mm,
Um, I use Instagram a lot more than I do TikTok, but you can find me on either platform. As for art stuff, I usually sell a lot of stuff in person or just through my Instagram DMs.
mhm.
That account is Marissa Marie's Market with periods in between the words. Yeah, that's where you can find
Great.
me.
Yeah, and I'll put all those in the caption too, so we don't lose
Sure,
track of the underscores or the periods or whatever. So
sure,
yeah, but
sure.
I sure appreciate the time. I'm looking forward to seeing what you're up to next. Maybe we can
Yeah,
have a follow-up collab at some point.
absolutely. I'd be so down.